ultimately, what stops you is you.
Wow.
What stops you is the perception of how you see yourself. What I learned from my mentor was you'll never overcome your self-image.
Come on. Purpose is to show people that if you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises. The whole goal is to give people information that's going to allow them to go out there and win. Success principles, God principles. We believe that they're one and the same. And so I will tell you this, I'm very excited. Honestly, I'm ecstatic, to really be giving you guys this call today and bringing this speaker here before you. But I need you to know something. Right? If you're on YouTube, first and foremost, if you're getting value from the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, go ahead and share it out to somebody else, drop a comment, definitely support us and spread the word. But before we get started, guys, I want to, extend this as an opportunity before we actually get into things to one more time to share this out. Right? If you're watching live, go ahead and share it out. Instagram, Facebook, go ahead and hit the share button. Send it to 5 friends real quick. Send the link out to 5 leaders real quick, and we're going to get this thing rolling. Guys, the leader that I'm about to bring before you is somebody who I met at in my infant stages. I like to call them in entrepreneurship. I met him at a point, ladies and gentlemen, where, again, I was honestly at the beginning of my journey. Right? I was at a point in my journey where I just wanted to win. I wanted to succeed. And I was at a business event. And next thing you know, right, I'm sitting down in this chair, I'm taking notes on these speakers. And, you've got speakers who were much older than me at that time. I probably was, I want to say maybe 20. Honestly, I might have been 19, probably 20, 21, somewhere around that age. And, I'm seeing all these older people go across the stage and, they're 6-figure earners, they're, 7-figure earners, they're highly successful. And then I see this young, sharp Filipino guy go across the stage. And he was so sharp with the way that he presented himself. He was so clean. He was so just all around professional. And I said, how in the world did this young guy become so professional, become so successful, and be able to captivate a crowd the way he did? It was just impressive. It was very, very, it was exciting to see. It was one of those moments I said, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it. And so, guys, I can tell you he's a hard worker. He's somebody that's very, very down to earth. He's a cool guy. Every time we connect, it's genuine. Every time I see him, it's always love. It's always support. I called him yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. So again, I need you to understand this. I called him yesterday. I said, hey, man, listen, I got this platform, Ambassadors of the Kingdom, right? We're on here serving, man. Can I ask you to be a guest speaker? Yesterday, man says, man, let me check one thing real quick. Let me confirm with you. I said, absolutely. Hits me back in probably less than 5 minutes. Says, I'll be there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand that he has a heart of service. He has a heart to put impact above income. And that's what we stand for. He has, what did he say? He said, mission before commission. That's what he told me on the phone, right? And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you, I want to bring to you none other than incredible business leader, financial services professional, Mr. Charles Cinco, man. Can you hear me? Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Yes, sir. The first thing I want to do, guys, if you're excited, go ahead and drop some fire emojis in the chat box for Mr. Charles Cinco. Man, we just gonna have a conversation, bro. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, I really just want people, bro, to understand the value that you bring. I know yourself, myself, we both started at a young age, dream chasing. And so, I mean, very casually, man, I just want people to have a chance to get to know you. I've got some questions for you, some things that I definitely want to talk to you about. But the first thing, man, for those who don't know you, would you mind telling us a little more about you? Like maybe your background, your story, just anything that you feel like they should know before we get the ball rolling and start talking about some of the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say thank you by the way, for even thinking of me and having me as one of your guests. It's an honor. And I remember the last time that we kind of got connected was, during a party, a family friend party. And we had this real moment of conversation of just genuine understanding. It was only 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but for me, that 10 minutes felt like an hour. And that's just how far deep we got into our values and our core principles and how we live our life and in leadership. And that kind of segues into what I love doing and who I am. I think at a very young age, when I was 17 years old, I started understanding that number one, college wasn't for me. Number two, uh, I started understanding that I wanted to be known as something and I wanted to lead something before I even knew what leadership was. And so after I actually graduated high school, it was by mere accident that I found this new friend right after, no, probably like 1 month before I graduated high school. And then after that, he invited me to come through this meeting. And I was like, cool, I'm not doing anything. I'm 17 years old, just graduated high school. What the hell am I going to do? And keep in mind, I'm a straight edge, I didn't have my first drink until I was 25. Didn't really have my first, I guess, music festival until I was 25. And so I started experiencing life a little bit later, but I started understanding why that was, is because I sought out leadership at a young age. And so when I went to this business meeting, it was like everything that I wanted to be. And that was actually the first year as well that I got introduced into Tony Robbins. And so I was 17 years old. I started going at Tony Robbins instead of going to a Jay-Z concert.
Yeah.
I started going to Tony Robbins concert instead of going to a WWE wrestling because I was a big wrestling fan myself.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so,
Wait, who is your favorite wrestler?
bro, Shawn Michaels all day.
Okay.
HBK.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so at 17, I started falling in love at leadership. But along the way, when you're 17, you start figuring out that the people around you didn't know what leadership was, didn't understand what leadership was, didn't even know what the conversation of leadership was. And you kind of can't blame that generational impact that you're currently living in at 17 years old. And so I started understanding, like, man, I may be different from everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's when I started building up this mentality of a lone wolf, as I should say. And ever since I was 17, 18, 19, 20, all I've been doing was business. I guess one of the unique things I could say for my story is I've never had a job. I've never experienced what it was to clock in or clock out, and I intend to never have a job. And now I'm 27 years old, been in the financial industry for 7 years. I've made a career out of myself from that moment of just decision of just trying something new, seeking out what it is that is pulling me and trying to understand what's pulling me.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started.
Well, bro, I mean, there's so many things that I can say. And, the first thing I want to do is once again commend you. How old are you today?
27.
27. Bro, you got started, you were very, very young. And I just want to ask you something because I already feel a lot of similarities between yourself and myself. A lot in what you just said. But I want to ask you for these people, man, how did you have, no, let's start here. Why would you give up the concert, right? The Jay-Z concert and actually go to the Tony Robbins seminar? Why would you actually step into business and sacrifice, some of the time partying or some of the time hanging out with friends? Why'd you do that? Because I think for a lot of people, that's kind of odd, especially at a young age, man. You know this, and I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about that, just being young and coming up in business and, one of the dream chase and succeed. But why would you because watch this. Here's what a lot of people are thinking. They're thinking, why would I give up my 20s? Right? Why would I give up my early years when I should be partying? I should be having fun and I can get serious later, right? Why would you make a decision that, hey, I'm going to sacrifice my earlier years? Why?
It's a great question. You know what? I think what I would answer is knowing your story first. And that goes back into understanding my story. I was born in the Philippines. I was 11 years old when I came here from the Philippines, and in the Philippines, I was headed into a lifestyle where I know I was going to be comfortable. Um, I was headed into a lifestyle where I know my mom was a doctor, my dad was an engineer, and so, being in a third world country, I understood that there was no middle income. There was no middle class. It was either you're wealthy or you're poor. Um, and so I knew that that's where we were headed. But when we came here in America in 2006, my story then took a complete 180, where all of a sudden I unknowingly found myself starting at the bottom, being the kid in the kid in the class where I have to be in the back because of the language barrier, and then being the kid in the back of the class, knowing that I was an outcast because I didn't like the same things that they like. I didn't understand the same things that Americans could understood. And then I came here in New Jersey first and had my first experience of American school system at seventh grade in a private school. And in the eighth grade, I came in California, and that was my first experience of a public school. And then from eighth grade, I then graduated from high school, just finally figuring out who my friends were. Now moving into a high school where a brand new set of kids comes in. And so I viewed myself always as an outcast. And it was almost like I was forced to think rather than react.
Mm.
A lot of, but this was before I even knew what that even meant. Because, my three closest friends at that time were reacting.
Yeah.
His girl broke up with him, full day was ruined.
Yeah.
Every week was a nightmare. This kid didn't get the good GPA that he was expecting, and his self-esteem goes down.
Mm.
And so I just started understanding, like, well, what's the middle ground?
Yeah.
Um, don't get me wrong, I still did a lot of foolish things with my foolish friends, and we had a lot of adventures and a lot of funs. I was an emo kid, when a sense with my what I loved to listen to was really alternative rock. And then I was introduced in high school to the hip hop culture, and it became a blend. And so I was so interested in just understanding what was the middle ground. And so I carried that over after graduating high school, and I soon figured out that after I graduated high school, I gotta I gotta decide where I was gonna be.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about high school, bro, that they don't tell you and teach you, that once you graduate college, you never you you don't think that you have a choice. And when I say a choice, is that there's this book called Put Your Dreams to the Test by John Maxwell. And the
Mm.
very first question in that book was, do you own your dreams? Because when I graduated high school, the dreams that I thought I had was my mom's dream. She wanted me to become an actor. And so I went to filmmaking school for 3 months,
Yeah.
thinking that I was my dream.
Wow.
And then after that, I was like, I'm number one, I'm 5'6", I'm Filipino, and I look around, everyone's white. I'm just being honest. I don't see myself like my self-esteem. I don't feel like I belong there. And so I quit. But luckily I got into business. And that was my saving grace. I would say that was like what introduced me into the freedom of choice.
Mm.
And that was my first introduction of breaking my
The status quo.
imposter syndrome. Breaking my
Oh,
imposter syndrome.
yes.
From breaking away from what I thought my dream was to what actually is my dream is.
Yeah.
My dream was captured because of what my parents wanted for me, of what my friends' opinions thought about me,
That's so
the
good.
peers that, you know what I mean? And so it was a journey of finding if my dream was really my dream first.
That's so good. And you know, bro, I thank you for sharing that, because I know a lot of the people that are watching right now, they feel very similarly. Guys, how many guys have ever felt that way? Be honest in the chat box. Okay, somebody go ahead and type 777 in the chat box if you heard what he just said. Okay, if you can relate right? You've got society tells you the box that you're supposed to fit in. You've got family members who love you, and they tell you the box that you're supposed to fit in, right? But you saw something else for yourself. Now, I want to ask you this, and you kind of answered it, bro, but how did you have the strength to do that, man? Because a lot of people that are watching, bro, you've got people, again, 9-to-5ers, traditional business owners, networkers, real estate agents, just people from all different types of business. And it's so hard when your family, right, or the people that love you the most, it could be close friends, they say, this is what you need to do with your life. And you say, no, I have something else planned, especially for younger people or people that even just are around their family still, or they have an unsupportive spouse. How do they have the strength? What tips can you give them that allowed you to have the courage, to have the strength to step out on faith and say, you know what, I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to, take this shot. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it the best I got. And regardless of if I fail doing this, at least it was what I wanted to do. How did you get the strength to do that, especially at such a young age, bro?
It's a great question. Um, you know, I'm such a film. So growing up, I always loved film. There was always something about there was always something about film that made me feel like I was in awe. I'm a movie buff. If I was gonna put, my category whenever I'm creating a new profile, and then, that section where it asks you what's your interest so you can match, I would probably say number one for me is filmmaker. Like filmmaking or something like that. Number two is NBA. But
Okay.
let me go back into, the filmmaking. I saw my life that way, where because I was in awe of filmmaking, I wanted to understand the structure of filmmaking. I wanted to understand what makes a story so revealing, and at the very end, understanding how the story comes about at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I think I figured out that I think before we start showing solutions to people, we got to first introduce them to what the real problem is, what the real source is. I think when you're in a reactive state, you see the solution so clearly in your mind, and we have this somehow gap of understanding that even if we see the solution, that solution is not obvious to the person we're talking to.
Yeah.
And as a leader, this is what I believe a leader separates themselves from the herd, is that leader knows how to describe that missing gap.
Mm.
But not only does he know how to describe that missing gap, he also empathizes enough to understand the emotions of where that person may currently be at, so that I can go to where he's at and walk with him to where I want to take him to.
Mm. Mm.
And I found that, that courage in me at, I think 17, because I think to me, 17 years old was the best year for me. That before I even knew it was the best year, because I broke up with my girlfriend at that time that cheated on me twice. Get that, twice. And, when you go through that, you're in this deep emotional state of vulnerability that you find yourself at the very bottom. And if you've ever hit depression, and if you know depression very clearly, which I clearly do, you see that fine line where you're almost at the edge and you're going to fall, or you're almost at the edge and you're going to find and try to find where your courage is so you can walk back. And that's where I was. I saw that edge so closely that I decided I wanted to go back. But I decided knowingly that I don't have the tools yet, that I don't have the knowledge yet. I just decided that I want to walk back.
Yeah.
But along the way, I wanted to find out what those tools were. And Tony Robbins really helped me out, getting the coaching at $500 per month. Bro, I got a life coach at $500 a month. And I remember going back to my parents, my mom reactively saying, $500? What are you going to do with that? And she didn't understand. I mean, I understand it, that she didn't understand. As a matter of fact, I reacted that I was like, Mom, I'm telling you, this is worth it. But that's all I could say,
Right.
because I didn't understand what's worth it.
Yeah.
But I could tell her it's worth it. And so 2 years later, she finally got it, And the reason why she got it was because I was able to show the results. And
Wait a minute. We got to talk about that.
yeah,
Let's talk about that. Because, a lot of people, man, friends, family were so quick, even not friends and family, people on Instagram in the comments, trolls, were so quick to call them haters. We're so quick to say, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. We're so quick to say, oh, well, I'm going to the top. Just watch me. And then when we don't do it, I like to tell people all it does, bro, is validate everything that they said. So you just said something so key. You said, yeah, she believed later because I showed her the results. So can you please talk to us, bro, about why it's important to bring the results home, right? To get your family and friends, to get the people in your network to believe. Why is that important to do that?
It's important in three aspects.
Yeah.
There's the materialistic aspect, there's the mindfulness aspect, and then there's a spiritual aspect.
Mm.
See, the materialistic aspect is the quickest and fastest way that we can prove someone wrong. At the age of, you know, I think 19 years old, I was able to get my first uh, dream car, which was an M4 BMW.
Let's go.
And then a year later, I switched it to an M4 BMW with a red interior.
Hey, come
And
on, come on.
so, and then I got into, earning income at $25,000 per month at a young age. And I say that because when you're 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you think your value is through materials. You think your value is through what your high school friends are telling you, that if you don't got the Prada, you're not worth it. If you don't got the Louis Vuitton, you're not worth it. You attach yourself into the materialistic world. And don't get me wrong, the materialistic things that you do get bring value to you of understanding the first level of worthiness.
Yes.
And how do you graduate to that second level of worthiness?
Yeah.
It's when you feed your mind. It's when you start feeding your knowledge gap, when you start feeding how much you can learn and how much capacity your mind can actually get. And when you learn and you fill yourself with a lot of books, audio books, and knowledge from just wisdom, from gaining wisdom from other people, gaining wisdom from other people's experience, you open yourself to learn. That's when people around you, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, will just see,
Yes.
without having to drive a BMW, without having to wear a Prada, will just see how different you are. Where you can bum out one day just wearing sweats, but then you're spewing out knowledge. I'm like, wait, bumming out and knowledge doesn't look the same, because we were programmed that knowledge and wisdom only goes with Prada,
Yeah.
only goes with suit. Like, dude, you can bum out and still have knowledge, and that's where you get that second level of growth, that second level of worthiness, where people can just see it without you having to prove it. Um, and that's what happened to me. And the third one is the spiritual. I gotta say, bro, like, I'm a Catholic growing up, and I've never been a firm believer of a certainty of what God is. I've always believed in a higher power. I say that. I consider myself an omniist, where I believe that there is a truth in every single religion, and the spiritual level is something that I've taken into a whole new level during the pandemic, where I started questioning my own spiritual belief, in a sense where it's healthy for me, where I let go of my spiritual bias of knowledge, that because I'm a Catholic, I can't listen to a Christian. I went to a Christian church during COVID. I loved it. That I let go of my spiritual biasness, that I can't listen to a Buddhist principle because I'm a Catholic. I went to a temple for the first time, and I found great meditation through it. And so for me, I'm in this realm right now where you're catching me, where I'm trying to graduate from the second worthiness into the third level of worthiness, where I'm operating in love, because love is what enables us to accept. And, if there's one thing I could tell you right now, bro, that you really inspired me yesterday, that I came into realization when we talk on the phone, and you said you're the ambassador of your kingdom, and that you're trying to create, and that really inspired me to come up with my own mantra of what am I an ambassador of. And I came up, for me, I want to be an ambassador of self-preservation.
Mm.
Self-preservation to me is, I think, by saving grace since I was 17 years old, understanding my wisdom. And that's what I want to instill to people, that there's a beauty in self-preservation.
That's beautiful, bro. The first thing I want to say, man, is yo, first and foremost, somebody type bars. Somebody just type bars in the chat, man. If you're getting some bars, man. How many guys see why I brought Charles on the show today? Somebody type AOTK. Guys, again, man, you just reminded me all over again of the same effect, the same feeling I had the first time I seen you. I want to say it was in Santa Clara. But I just saw you, man, grace the stage, and you had such a smooth delivery in what it is that you're saying. And bro, I just want to say I appreciate you. And man, I'm just excited to be here on this call with you, and everything that you're doing. We support you, bro. I also want to say we consider you an ambassador of the kingdom as well. If y'all consider Charles an ambassador of the kingdom as well, type of AOTK in the chat box.
I'm honored, brother.
Man, you've given so much value, and I love what you said about not needing to necessarily be in a suit, not needing to have the Louis, the Gucci, the Fendi, the Prada. But I think everybody here can clearly see the value and the wisdom that you bring. They want to get like you, man. For the young man or woman that wants to be a little more like Charles, that wants to be able to, get on a call on a Saturday afternoon and be so poised, so relaxed, and just flow, just have this outpour of value and knowledge so effortlessly. Man, you talk about books, audios, you talk about Tony Robbins. How often do they need to be doing that sort of thing? What does the habit look like? What does the routine look like? What does it look like to feed your mind, as you say, to become to become a person of wisdom and value? How often? Is it once a month that you read a book or listen to an audio? How often, man?
I'll answer with both of our both good friends, Christian Flores, and I'm sure he said this to you at least once or twice. And he said to me, if success is mandatory to you, your activities are going to be mandatory to you. Yeah. And that, when he said that about a year and a half ago, I was like, damn, that stuck with me until today, because I started to realize that every single day success was becoming mandatory for me. Number one, because of the materialistic things that I need as a 27-year-old going to my 30s, have bigger plans, have all these things planned out. So how am I going to get that? I need capital. Yeah. So every single day I understand that, yeah, it's becoming more mandatory. But then again, the mind, the second level of worthiness, where it's becoming more mandatory for me that I need to grow, because I have I have an organization to lead. And I can't lead if at least I'm not 5% ahead. Whoa. If I'm not 5% reading more books.
That's right.
Listening to more audios, experiencing more failures. Yeah. Because if I don't, then I'm missing out an opportunity for me to extract. Extract what? Extract information, extract wisdom, extract questions. I'm a big guy in philosophy, bro. And there's this Socrates. He said that question everything.
Yeah.
And I've come to find out that the wise man is the first one to just question everything. But the problem is, the people that are on the receiving end of being questioned, they think they're being insulted. They think they're being offended. They think they're being challenged. Well, I think as a matter of fact, it is being questioned because it's supposed to challenge, because it's supposed to get the fight out of you. It's supposed to get that true out of you. But a lot of people are so defensive. A lot of people are so reactive. And so when I think about how much book do I read, I equate it to, well, how much is my success a mandatory thing for me? It's the conversation of how far am I willing to go for
Yeah.
my family.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say I'm willing to go that far for my family, but some people quit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they weren't really willing to go that far for their family,
Yeah.
you know?
Bro, I like what Eric Thomas says. He says, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful.
That's right. When he talked about that example of,
I don't, yes,
right, going into the ocean and
exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely, man. So, again, I love everything that you're saying. There's so many directions that I could go with this, man. But I guess the next question that I would ask you is this: what have been maybe some of your biggest challenges? On the road to the top, you've already, how many guys? I'm listening to you, man, and I love it because you make the success sound so casual, so normal. And I know there's some people watching. They're like, "Did he just say what I think he just said?" Man, how have you? What are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face? Because we know about the learning, we know about the gaining wisdom and knowledge. We know what the end result can be, or even what some of the results can be, because we believe that you're just starting. But what are some of the challenges on the way there? I think so far we can say maybe friends and family, people in your network not supporting you. What else is going to try and stop these people who are watching from getting to where it is that they want to go, to achieving their goals and dreams?
Well, I touched briefly on the imposter syndrome, but I
Yeah,
really believe this.
talk about that. That's
Yeah,
good.
ultimately, what stops you is you.
Wow.
What stops you is the perception of how you see yourself. What I learned from my mentor was you'll never overcome your self-image.
Come on. Come on.
And when I heard that, I I started understanding that there is a reason why when I see a fit guy, I think immediately confident. Not because he's confident on everything else, but there is one area in his life that he takes confidence in, and he understands principle, and he understands value, and understands the outcome that he can get out of that. See, there's a principle, there's a particular discipline that goes into confidence. And what imposter syndrome does, it reveals to you how much lack of confidence you really have when you understand detachment.
Yeah.
So now I can clearly look back at it now that I've found a lot of attachment of my self-worth when I'm on stage.
Yes. Yes.
I found a lot of attachment of my self-worth when I have the mic. See,
Yeah.
if you look at my Facebook or my Instagram, that's this is the reason why I took out all those pictures of my Instagram, because I don't see myself as that person anymore. And if you look back though, you'll see a lot of me being on stage. You'll see a lot of me kind of flashing my suits and
Yeah.
and whatever. Am I proud looking back? I guess there's a certain pride that I look back at it and I am proud of it. But then am I attached to that? Absolutely not. And the most beautiful part about imposter syndrome is when you discover it, it kicks you in the ass.
Yeah.
And and let me tell you, have you ever dealt with depression?
Personally, I wouldn't say so.
Bro, good for you.
Yeah.
Bro, I've dealt with depression for 4 years.
Yeah.
18, 19, no, sorry, 17, 18, 19, 20. First time we met, I was going through my depression without knowing I was going through my depression. I was in the early stages of depression where I was in denial. Where I was in denial of this is what makes me happy. That there was a lot of attachment. And then in the middle of it, when it was started spiraling down, when I started getting the things that I've always wanted, I started living in this high. I mean, J. Cole talks about all the time how when you get into a certain level of high of success,
Yeah.
you really live deep into that. And if you don't question that high of success for a moment, you can get stuck in there.
Come on.
And the people around you start acting like they're your real friends. And if you don't ever question it, how are you ever gonna see what the truth is of who you are without this. And luckily I caught that, bro. And we all caught that. Well, we all had the opportunity to catch that during 2020 and COVID when the world stopped.
Yeah.
And for me, bro, I used to get a lot of messages back and forth on Instagram before COVID happened. Like wherever I post, boom, value, value. Wow, Charles, thank you. This, boom, boom, boom. You get a lot of recognition. You also get a lot of people checking up on you.
Yeah.
And then, next thing you know, COVID stops and you see patterns. I'm not saying people did this on purpose. What I'm saying is I believe in patterns. And when you start recognizing patterns, you start to recognize, okay, this is an opportunity for me to keep track, because if this lasts for 2 years, this
Yeah.
means this is the reality.
Yeah.
And so I started understanding that, man, these people probably just saw me for what I had rather than who I was.
That's good. That's good. That's
See,
good.
what I had was what they wanted. The car,
Yeah.
right? The lifestyle, going to Italy, going to Switzerland, going to Dubai, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But when I started letting them in, get closer to me, bro. Like let's talk about real stuff. How about I get to know you? Like what should I know about you, Malachi? Like they they
Some
they want.
people, some people want you for you, and some people want you for what you got.
That's
And
right.
I want to focus on something you said, bro. You were talking about just imposter syndrome, and that's something, bro, I believe everybody will deal with on on the way to the top. And I think if I was to give people a word of advice, it would be winning is not the hardest thing you'll do. Believing you can win is. And in business, in life, in sales, I tell people there's only really one sale that you truly need to make, and that's the sale to yourself, the selling of yourself that you are good enough, that all I need is within me now. That's one of the biggest things I think every single person would deal with. But for people that, have dealt with what it is that you've dealt with, what I've dealt with, because I'll be the first to stand up here and say, absolutely, man, especially when you hit success, that imposter syndrome, it kicks in, because guess what? You don't just need to become successful, you need to remain successful, or at least that's what you feel like in your head. Right? I tell people doubt is a traveling salesman. It moves from your head, then it gets into your hearts. Okay. And it's one of the best salesmen. Why? Because it shows up at your door every single day. Okay. So for those people that will war, that will battle, that will fight, with self-doubt, with self-worth, with self-image, you, as somebody who has been through that and now come out on the other side, what words of advice can you give these people today?
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And when I say be honest with yourself, I don't just mean of what bad things has happened to you, but I'm talking about be completely honest and authentic when you feel joy. When you feel joy, express that joy. Don't hold back that joy. When you feel sadness, express that sadness through the fullest, because you can experience a lot of wisdom through sadness. When you feel euphoric, experience that euphoria in a blissful state. When you feel anger, let that anger take over that rage, because that is the honest, most authentic you. And I think a lot of people think that authenticity is always between only the eyesights of lights, of the brightness. No, no, no. I really believe this, bro. Authenticity comes from understanding you're both sides of darkness and light.
Yeah.
I can't appreciate my light if I don't understand my darkness, and I can't appreciate my darkness if I don't understand my light.
Come on. Come on.
And I think I've seen a lot of people where they tell themselves that I'm always gonna be happy, I'm always gonna be happy, and I'm always gonna be happy, bro. Everything that I'm doing is supposed to be in a high, so I'm always gonna be looking like Joker every single day with a forced happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
People all the time, be honest with yourself, and But when you're honest with yourself and you're vulnerable, also get yourself people that are close to you, people that you can have an exchange with, where it's not just me preaching to you, Malachi, where there's moments where you're also preaching back to me.
Yeah.
That's a relationship that I want.
Come
See,
on.
I'm walking
It's a
with you.
value exchange.
I'm sorry.
It's a value exchange.
That's right. It has to be. I'm walking with you rather than I'm walking behind you. General managers, people who they think they're in leadership. What they want to do is they want to be behind and push the people in front of them.
Yeah.
But the people who really understands leadership, they want to be in front and have him or her pull the people with her.
Yeah.
The real people who wants to understand what love is, the real leaders understand that there's moments to be here, but if I want to feel loved and I want to be in love, I want to be next to them.
Yeah.
I got to be next to them. That's where a place of authentic love that I've been discovering with myself in the last 2 years, that if you even look at me as a leader, I thank you. I'm humbled, but I want to let you know I want to walk with you. I'm not here to lead you somewhere, because I've been in a position where I can lead people. I've proven that I can lead people, but there is a certain gap of relatability that is invisible because they see me as this, but I want them to know I'm not that because I'm with you.
Yeah. No, that's
And yeah, bro.
Let me ask you this, because everything you're saying, guys, if you're getting some value, type of ALTK in the chat box. If you're on IG, hit the like button. Okay. Send this out, share this out. We got about 10 minutes left before we wrap this thing up. Charles, you talk about leadership, and you've got so many different people on this call. I truly believe that becoming a leader is one of the best things that you can do for your life. I do. I believe being a leader will help you in all of your relationships. I believe it'll make you a better son, make you a better daughter, a better mother, a better father, a better sister, a better brother. I believe that being a leader will help you in your relationship. I believe that being a leader will help you in the marketplace. Right? I believe that being a leader, man, will truly transform your life. I believe it's the highest paying profession in the world, becoming a leader. Now, can you tell us from your perspective why it's important to become a leader, and also just some tips on leadership? And we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm gonna get probably at least 3 more questions between now and then.
Because really, you're only labeled as a leader when the people know what needs to be done, but they keep talking about it and they actually see that it's being done. That's when you are deemed as a leader. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Politicians, they're deemed as a leader because all these ideas that they come up with came from a group of people that have suggested this should happen. Oh, but I'm not going to do it because it's going to take too much time, because it's going to probably take a lot of capital, because it's probably, my family's probably going to be against it. But then the moment that someone agrees with your values and take whatever that you just said and put it into action, all of a sudden they're going to be looked at as a leader. That's really what only separates a leader from a non-leader, is when they when they hear again what is really being said, and then they put it into action. Another thing that you should consider being a leader is when you are also in a place of learning. When you feel like you are in a place that there is a part of you that is seeking, that is questioning, that is like, am I sure that my opinions is the only opinion? I kind of want to hear other people. Am I sure that my way of leadership is my only way of leadership? Because I kind of want to see how other people lead. See, the biggest prophet in the world that can never go bankrupt, that can never face any recession, that can never go obsolete, is the profession and the industry of leadership.
Wow.
Because in a sense, we reinsure each other and we reassure each other. That is a currency that is not touched. You can't materialize it. But it's an exchange of energy, of currency. that is going to live on for generations. And if you want to belong in that conversation, if you want to feel exactly what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and if you want to be in that middle of exchanges of value, that's why I believe leadership is so enticing. It's so exciting. It's so rewarding.
Let me ask
That
you, bro. You became a leader so young. And I do want to ask you this for, those individuals who might be seeing this and they are, in their younger years. Uh, what are some tips that you can give people who are, young people and they want to lead, but they feel like everyone is older than them? They feel like they don't have very much credibility. I mean, you started at 17, so I'm sure that you were still, at home with family. You know what I mean? What tips would you give people, young people, right, who want to lead, and also people with no results? Okay, so many times we think we need to be a certain age or we need to make a certain amount of money or have a certain amount of results. What do you say to the people, Charles, who don't have either or one of those things? How do they still become successful as a leader as you have today?
when you're 17, 18, 19, you think you know everything. Yeah, mom, I already know that. Yeah, dad, I already know that. But that the reality is you don't. You may know it, but you don't know it from experience, you
Right.
know? And so lean into that fact. Lean in that you don't know anything. Because when you lean in, you allow yourself to learn. Once you capture that interest, whatever that may be, for me, it was filmmaking first and then it became business.
Yeah.
Whatever that is for you, sharpen that skill set, sharpen that mindset of, all right, what can I learn from this that people around me will value? Because if people around me will value, I become a commodity. I become something that they want to seek out. I become something that they want to trust for an opinion, for something that's serious. I want to become, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what jobs that are, consulting is like. You become an expert of one area.
Yeah.
Um, and so harness that skill. And then third, once you get that skill, make a career out of it. If you
Yes.
don't make a career out of it, you don't have to make a career out of it. Maybe you can keep it on the side and make it a hobby, but also know that having a career shouldn't be connected to your passion. See,
Right.
my passion as a person is number one, leading. Number two, my passion is filmmaking. And number three, NBA. These are my passions. Am I gonna make money from these? Maybe one of them, but the reality is, I to have a career that continuously feed my passion,
Love
because
it.
my passion is what keeps me alive. My passion is what keeps me sane. So I say, number one, start from the bottom and lean into that. Because when you lean in, you find great people like Malachi. You find great people who wants to lead you, because it can't be the teacher that shows up. The student has to show up to class first before the teacher can even lead. There's no point for a teacher
Wow.
teaching to an empty classroom.
Mm.
So
And you're gonna get me fired up. So wait a minute. I wasn't even so let me ask you this, right? You said something, and I we've got like 5 minutes. I do want you to expand on what you just said. And it's again, we could keep going on that one, but you essentially said when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now, I want to ask you a question. What does it look like to show up to class? What does it look like to put yourself in position? What does it look like to be hungry? Because a lot of people think this: when we're young in business, we have a sense of entitlement, Charles. We feel like, no, you should be able to teach me for free. Or you teach me, you help me get results, and then I'll pay you. I shouldn't have to pay to learn. We think, oh, well, I shouldn't have to pursue the mentor or the coach, the mentor, the teacher. They should pursue me. We think, oh, well, they owe it to me to make me successful. They need to bend over backwards and overextend themselves, making me successful. Bro, the perspective that you have and the picture that you painted was so much different. It was when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It was when the student shows up to class, then the teacher has a reason to be there. Talk about that. Give us a brief answer, and then I've got another question for you.
bro, the answer is very simple. get out of that delusion, because it's a delusion. Um, what does it look like when you're a student hungry? Well, you're hungry. You're accepting everything that comes to you. If you're justifying your hunger, you're not hungry.
Mm, mm.
It's that simple. If you're justifying why I should be in that class, even if you already said I need to be in that class, but you know what? I don't want to sell myself. I don't want to get too sold. Like, what kind of way of thinking is that? You're not hungry, because being hungry is an exchange of energy.
Right, right.
Think about this. At bare minimum, primitive way of thinking, hunger is a primitive instinct.
Yeah,
Hunger exchange is an exchange of energy. Why? It's because we have not received an energy from the outside world that will feed our energy to give back energy.
that's right.
I didn't get meat, so that means the energy that I'm getting from the outside is not being received in my stomach.
Yeah,
So if I'm empty in my stomach, my energy is flat. And
yeah.
if my energy is flat, I can't give back out. And so when you're hungry, you go out, man. You have to go out and go there with bare minimum nothing but complete naked awareness of just let me absorb everything. Because you have to be in, that's what I mean by leaning into the experience. You have to be able to be open to absorb everything. And it's like, it's not like a door going like this, bro.
Mm.
It's a door that slams the door like 100 miles an hour, where all of a sudden you get this, not gush of wind, but this explosive wind coming through you of experience.
Right.
And that's when and that's when you start learning. You
Charles,
in exchange.
books, audio recommendations. Rapid fire question.
Books, audio, what is it?
Recommendations.
Books, audio recommendations. Number one book, I would say Put Your Dreams to the Test. I would say that specifically a book, read it on a book, not an audio book, because this is something that you're going to want to read over and over again and highlight and teach to your team.
Yeah.
If you're leading an organization, this has to be one of the first books that you have to teach to your team. If you're not, I still recommend it, because it's going to be the first time you're ever going to ask yourself this question: is my dream actually my dream? Right? Audio book, I would say The Elephant Mind.
Mm.
Elephant Mind is a book about psychology, but it talks about the elephant on the room, where the concept is whatever decision that we have in our mind, there's always an elephant in the room. Meaning, when I say I am, think about this concept, GoFundMe account,
Yeah.
right? We have an option in GoFundMe account to donate anonymously. But did you know in GoFundMe accounts, 80% of people that donates leave their money, leave their donation with their names in it. And
Mm.
so the elephant in the room is, I'm donating because I still want people to know I'm a good person. So I'm going to leave my name in there. So no matter if we have good decisions, the elephant in the room is we're still strings attached to what we can give to ourselves. And recommendations number three is immerse yourself. Immersion. What I mean by immersion is really feel. Don't block. Feel. Feel and evaluate. Not 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 just look back, but evaluate what you felt. And from what you evaluate from that immersion is what you create your character. That's how you shape your character, from immersion.
And bro,
So,
there's some people asking questions on live. Could you
oh,
repeat
for
the
real.
books and audios real quick with the title and the author? And if you guys are listening, make sure you write it down. And he's going to repeat it now.
Yeah. The first one, let me just pull this up really quick. So the first one is Put Your Dreams to the Test by John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a leader in book selling and leadership topic, sold over at least 100 million copies worldwide in the last probably 30 years
Right.
in leadership. Um, Number two was The Elephant Brain. The Elephant Brain is by Kevin Simler and Robin Hanson. And this is basically talking about the hidden motives in everyday life.
Wow. Okay. And the last thing, bro, or one of the last things, anything else you want to add? Anything else you feel like the people should know? Anything else that a message that you would want to leave? And also, how do people get in contact with you, bro?
The last message is this: whenever you're leaning into the no experience and you are going to immersion, sometimes you can feel so much that you don't know how to process it. Don't be afraid to have a I call it self-preservation week, where you take a pause from everything that you're feeling and you're experiencing and you're learning, that you preserve yourself for 1 week to just be free and be in that state of sanctuary. For a lot of people, some people it's the gym, some people it's, meditation, some people it's going out to festivals. Whatever that may be of self-preservation is for you, is your reset. Because there's a reason why Jesus, right? I don't mean to go so gospel on you. There's a
Go ahead,
reason.
man. Come on, preach.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why Jesus didn't, commit the full 7 days, right? He had to take 1 day break. And for some of us, 1 day is enough.
Yeah.
For some of you, maybe 1 week could last you a lifetime. 1 month. For me, I did at least 1 year because I know I needed that. So whatever that self-preservation mode is for you, if it's time for you, take that and then be a better person after that. So how can you contact me? It's just on Instagram, Charles Cinco _. And also on TikTok, I'm starting to create a little bit more content about my career and my profession. Same thing, Charles Cinco _. Cinco like 5 in Spanish, CINCO.
Perfect. And the last question that I have for you, bro, is this. You talk about principles, which I love. You're a spiritual person. You're on your spiritual journey, and you're, obviously you're somebody who, again, I love some of the references that you've made. The whole goal here, man, is to essentially let people know success principles and God principles. And the very last thing I want to ask you, for everyone watching, for you, what does the phrase, if you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises, what does that mean to you, bro? How has that been applicable to you in your life?
When you practice God's principles, you can practice, what was it?
You can participate in his promises.
You can participate in his promises. Ooh, that's a big one. I feel and I believe that if I practice God's principles, that I can exude love out of me and people can get hope and can resemble hope out of me. See, my biggest dream back then was very different from what it is now. Wow. My biggest dream is I just want to be looked at as someone that can give hope to people. A lot of people pray to whatever they deem God is to be is for them because they found faith in it and they find hope in it. And sometimes when there's nothing else in this world that can, get you back in your feet, there's this last glimmering shine of light that you somehow visualize. I somehow visualized in a moment of my darkness when I was depressed, when I wanted to take my life twice. And, my vivid imagery was very dark, but there was always this in the middle of it was very, very bright. And that's what I want to be for people.
Bro, very, very powerful. Guys, if you got some value, drop an AOTK in the chat box. Man, I want to say that I personally appreciate you, bro, not just as a friend, but also as a leader and an example to people. I tell people sometimes God allows us to go through so that we can help somebody else get through. And I think you are a prime example of that. You went out there and you've paid the price and still paying the price today. You're not done. I'm not done. You're showing up. I called you at a moment's notice. You decided to show up on this call and serve. And man, I think we can all agree. Again, guys, drop an AOTK in the chat box if you have been blessed thoroughly by the information, the value that was given today. So once again, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment. And guys, definitely connect with Charles at Charles Cinco _. Charles, I'm right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. at Charles Cinco _ Cinco like 5. And man, again, we just can't say thank you enough. Guys, if you're in the Discord server, blow it up. Blow it up. Type of AOTK in the chat box. That being said, I will see you guys next Saturday.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, bro.
Absolutely.